Welcome guys, Lawrence96 here, and today I'm going to be doing another figure review. So today I'm going to be doing a review of a very rare figure, and yeah, it should be a good way for me to get back into reviewing, because I should be doing a bunch of this summer, because yeah, I have my weird ups and downs about reviewing, and I don't know. Just look at some of like my Batman videos or stuff like that if you really want to know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you'd probably be confused out of your mind. But anyway, let's get on with the actual figure himself from Ultraman Jack, Sadora. Now, this Sadora is not the Jack version because they've only made this version of Sadora, which is the Ultraman Mebius version. As shown, well, I'll get to his card after I get to his history, I guess. Because this monster is, I don't think he's a very popular monster, but he sure has had a lot of appearances throughout the series. So, his first appearance was in episode 3 of Ultraman Jack, and the whole story plot was like there's this giant mist or fog going through the valley, and this one person that was traveling through the valley ended up seeing the monster Sadora in there, and freaked out, and then told the team that Jackson, which I believe was Matt, eventually they went to investigate later in the episode, and came across Sadora. So, they didn't really fight Sadora at first. They were just, screaming at it, I guess. And then, another monster appeared named Deton, who, if you didn't know, Deton was a monster that was made out of Telestan's suit, which makes sense later on in Sadora's history, but I'll get to that when I get to it. So yeah, Sadora and Deton kept fighting for a few minutes, and then eventually Jack appeared to fight both the monsters. And after a brief while of fighting, Jack was starting to get beaten up, and then he ended up killing Deton with a ray and decapitating Sadora. And then Sadora's next appearance was in Ultraman Mebius, of course, and he appeared in episode 5, in which he had basically the same story plot as Ultraman Jack, and used his mist power, but he also had a new power in which he could extend his arms to a very big length, and do a charge attack with his arms, which was pretty neat. And so eventually he fought he fought Mebius, and was beaten after a while, after the guy's team helped out by weakening Sadora with some missiles and stuff. But then all of a sudden more Sadoras appeared in that episode, and before Mebius could do anything, a mysterious figure came out of the sky and just killed them all, who we didn't know anything about at first. And then he made a little cameo, I guess, in one of the episodes in which you could see his claw or foot in Bogol's mouth. But then he didn't really make another big appearance until the Ultra Galaxy series, in which he fought Telestan, which that's why I explained about the whole Deton thing. And yeah, so they were fighting for a bit, but then Red King appeared and ended up killing Sadora by choking him to death. And he was also killed by Golza when there was a bunch of him walking around. Golza ended up just killing all of them, which was really just to show off Golza's power. I mean, Sadora is really just a giant cattle monster, I guess. And he also appeared in the Ultra Galaxy movie, in which he was just another monster in the background. And yeah, that's his whole history for right now. Alright, so now I'll get on to his tag. As shown, he has only been released in the Mebius line. He's number 6. There's a picture of his suit. More info and stuff. Oh wait, on the front it says 60 meters, yeah. Got all info I can't read. And again, number 6 in the Mebius line. So yeah, rare figure. Alright, so let's get on to detail. Now, detail is one aspect I really like about this figure. From the front and from the design point, like all these ridges, you wouldn't really think he'd be very detailed, but in the points where it needs detail, he has a good amount. Especially in his face. That looks very, very similar to the Mebius suit and the Galaxy suit in which he appeared in. He's got nice ridges in the claws and stuff, but that's not like super detailed. He's got nice wrench feet like he had. And then, of course, on the back, where he's got all the ridges and lines and bumps, it looks really, really good. They got all of those little aspects. And then there's not much detail on the back of the tail, but at the tip of the tail, there's good ridges and bumps. You know, all the good stuff Bandai puts in their figures. So yeah, detail in the spots where it's required is good. So this is a very good detailed figure. Onto articulation. That's the only point, well, one of the only points that I really don't like in this figure. His arms can move 360. Except for this one. For mine, it might be just mine. Gets cut on the horn. But also when you move the arms, there's actually a little flap in the armpit. Like, kind of like the 64 and the 68 Godzilla figure. So that's kind of cool. And the tail moves. Yeah, that's it. There's no head articulation. There is a giant seam there, which kind of makes you think that his head can move, but no. And surprisingly, no leg articulation, when it looks like it'd be easy enough to move. Because there'd be nothing really preventing it, so yeah. Kind of the only down point on this figure, but luckily the other traits make up for it. Alright, so now let's get on to sizing. Now I got a bunch of figures over here. Since I don't have Mebius or Jack, I guess I'll pull off this guy again. Ultraman. Now, if you're going by Jack, this does not work because Sadora's suit and Jack had a much longer neck. That's why it says 60 meters, and he had like smaller claws and everything. But if you go by Mebius' suit, I still don't think this works too well, because of course he's supposed to be 60 meters, so he should be like up here. But most of the time they're always fighting far away because he was using his extendo arms and stuff. So yeah, this doesn't really work too well, but I guess you can make it work. And since he's 60 meters, let's match him up with a small Godzilla that most of you should have. GMK Godzilla from Bandai Creation. Yeah, Sadora, again, still need to be a bit taller, but this works out much well, because Godzilla's 50 meters and Sadora's 60 meters. And you know what? Might not see it, but Sadora's a hair taller. So, yeah. And since he's an Ultraman Jack monster, let's pull out all my Ultraman Jack monsters. Yeah. Gudon. Black King. And King Source 3. So yeah, that's how he compares to everybody else. I don't know how tall Gudon's supposed to be, or Black King. I know King Source 3 is supposed to be pretty big. So yeah, this would match up pretty well, but these I guess work too. But I just wanted to do that because for some reason I've just managed to get a lot of Jack monsters. And on to paint job, which is another one of the really good aspects of this figure. In his suit, well, at least in the card if you can look, he was really just a plain brown color with some hints of highlights of like blue, but it's not really that big. But on the figure, since they didn't want to make it a boring brown figure, because nobody wants to look at a boring brown figure, unless it's Gomra, they added all these blue and green highlights all over the figure, which makes this figure really, really look nice. Makes it look like some sort of forest monster. Of course, you've got all this green on the back, which makes the back really stand out and gives it a really cool coloring in the back. He's got this really like bluish, black, brown tint on the tail, which is kind of weird because I guess it was a brown vinyl from the other part, but then they just colored it over with black and blue. And then of course he's got all of the green highlights that stand out and the really nice blue highlights that are all over the figure. And of course, if you can see in the camera, he's got a very glossy silver paint on the claws and the feet, which just makes, as I always say, the figure look nice. And then, of course, they've got all the blue highlights on the face and the head. And just make the paint job and detail really stand out in this figure. So, yeah. That's the Sadora figure in a nutshell. So, detail is good. It's really good in all the spots it needs it. Articulation is the only aspects of the figure I really don't like, because they should have at least put leg articulation in, because now you really can't do good stop motion with him. It'd be, well, you probably still could do it, but it'd be much harder. Sizing is a little iffy, but with some of the monsters it works. Some of it doesn't, like Ultraman, but Ultraman's just oversized in general. And the paint job's really good on this figure. So, overall, I'm going to give him a 4.5 out of 5. Because this is a really, really, really nice figure. Because all Ultraman Mebius figures are really good. And another aspect that's kind of sucks about this figure is that because he's from the Ultraman Mebius line, he's incredibly rare to find. I found him on eBay by the luck of the chance, and surprisingly nobody bidded on him, probably because they were all bidding on the other monsters that the seller was selling. I ended up getting from him for $26, which is, in my book, a steal, because this guy usually goes for over, like, I don't know, $50 to $60, up to $90, which I think is asking it. You should not pay that much for any figure. I don't know what kind of person you are. I'm not paying that much. But I also mentioned before I forget, there is an extendo arm version of this figure, which I guess is more common to find. It's where his arms are like 1 foot long out here to make it look like the extending arm things he does in Mebius, and, well, I think it's just Mebius. So yeah, I guess that figure is more common than this one. But I guess if you really want Sadora, then go for that one. But otherwise, try to pick this guy up if you find him for cheap, because he is very worth it. So yeah, again, 4.5 out of 5. And I hope you guys enjoyed this coming back review. And I will see you guys later, in which I review some more figures. Alright, see ya.